International Storm and Weather Forecast Bulletin, September 2025. Good day, dear viewers. We are delighted to welcome you to today's edition of the International Weather Forecast. Today is Monday, September 1st, 2025, a pivotal moment in the year, as summer draws to a close and autumn begins to set in. This is also the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season, while Canada and much of North America are experiencing significant seasonal transitions. In this bulletin, we will cover two main stories. First, the development of a tropical wave off the coast of West Africa with potential to become the next Atlantic storm, and second, a comprehensive outlook for Canada throughout September, highlighting signs of autumn, frost, and even the possibility of early snow. Let's begin with the international spotlight. A new tropical wave has emerged off West Africa. Following days of storms and heavy rainfall across the Caribbean and Central America, global attention has shifted toward this system. Initial satellite imagery shows a broad band of convection moving into the Atlantic, already exhibiting signs of rotation. Meteorologists note this could be the early stages of a long-track storm, one that travels thousands of kilometers across the Atlantic with highly unpredictable intensity and trajectory. Experts predict that within 5 to 7 days, this wave has a high likelihood of organizing into a tropical depression. If favorable conditions persist, it could intensify into a tropical storm or even a hurricane. The pace of its initial development will largely determine its path. Rapid intensification would likely push the system northward into the open Atlantic, sparing land areas. Slower development, however, would keep it tracking westward for several days, potentially approaching the Caribbean and threatening land later on. At this stage, forecast models are not entirely consistent. Both the American GFS and the European ECMWF suggest a strong storm scenario, while the Canadian and ICON models are more conservative, projecting only tropical storm or depression strength. This discrepancy stems largely from the presence of a strong high-pressure ridge to the north, acting as a steering wall that could either block or redirect the system's movement. Another critical factor: storms originating off West Africa typically endure long journeys across the Atlantic, encountering shifting atmospheric patterns, steering currents, and sea surface temperatures along the way. According to ECMWF data, the probability of this wave developing into at least a tropical depression has already surpassed 80%, a threshold high enough to warrant close monitoring. Currently, the strong northern ridge is keeping the system on a westward course. But within a week, as the ridge weakens, the system could begin turning northwest. That turning point will determine whether it curves out into the North Atlantic or continues its march toward the Caribbean. Most models agree that by midweek, the odds of tropical storm formation will be very high. Some scenarios even indicate it could become Tropical Storm Gabrielle, the next name on the 2025 Atlantic hurricane list. If so, Gabrielle would mark the 7th named storm of this season. Meanwhile, stormy weather continues across the Caribbean and parts of the United States. A trough extending across Florida and the Bahamas is fueling widespread showers and thunderstorms. Heavy rainfall, lightning, and rough seas are already disrupting marine traffic, particularly near the northern Bahamas and around Bermuda. Freeport has seen over 25 millimeters of rain in just a few hours, with frequent lightning strikes compounding the hazards. Across the Caribbean, including Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico, scattered thunderstorms remain common. In Central America, Costa Rica and Panama may receive over 100 millimeters of rainfall, raising concerns for flash flooding and landslides. Mexico, Texas, and nearby regions are also experiencing intermittent heavy showers, some causing localized flooding. Other islands such as Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and St. Lucia may see moderate rainfall but are still at risk of sudden strong storms. Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, the Yucatan Peninsula, and northern Colombia and Venezuela are also bracing for heavy rain. Bermuda, too, is facing unsettled weather and rough seas, hampering both tourism and shipping. From a broader perspective, this tropical wave off Africa may just be the beginning of a very active peak season. September and early October are traditionally the height of the Atlantic hurricane season, and forecasters expect storm numbers to rise quickly in the coming weeks. Shifting focus northward, we turn to Canada, where September paints a very different climate picture. For Canadians, this month is a transitional blend, lingering warmth of summer interwoven with crisp autumn air. And in some regions, even the first hints of snow. In eastern Canada, major cities such as Toronto, Montreal, and Halifax start the month with daytime highs above 20 degrees Celsius. By month's end, however, temperatures will have dropped by at least 5 degrees Celsius, marking a noticeable shift to cooler, autumn-like weather. In the west, Edmonton averages around 17 degrees Celsius, while Vancouver remains milder at about 19 degrees Celsius. Ottawa and Toronto will see their early month warmth quickly give way to chilly fall breezes. Frost, a hallmark of autumn, also becomes a real concern in September. Many eastern and western provinces often report frost events during this month, which is of particular importance to farmers as harvest season begins. Crop protection strategies will be crucial. Rainfall is another defining feature. Halifax could exceed 100 millimeters of rain, while Toronto and Winnipeg average between 60 to 70 millimeters, making September one of the wetter months of the year in several regions, especially near coastal provinces. And then there's Canada's unique climate signature, early snow. Some northern and high-elevation cities frequently see snow as early as September. Whitehorse in Yukon averages measurable snow during early autumn. Calgary has recorded more than 20 centimeters of snow in September during some years. Thompson in Manitoba is also prone to early snowfalls, reminding residents that winter is never far away. Taken together, September in Canada is a vivid seasonal mosaic: sunshine and warmth, brisk winds, soaking rains, and the occasional surprise snowfall. For residents, it's both the romantic charm of autumn and the practical reminder to prepare for the long winter ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, today's bulletin has highlighted two strikingly different climate stories: the Atlantic, alive with the threat of Tropical Storm Gabrielle, and Canada, embracing its seasonal transition into fall with frost and snow on the horizon. Whether in the stormy tropics or the chilly northern latitudes, one truth remains constant: nature moves according to its own rhythms. And we must observe, adapt, and prepare. We wish you a safe and peaceful start to September. Thank you for watching the International Weather Forecast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your comments so we can continue delivering timely, accurate, and useful updates. Goodbye, and we'll see you in our next bulletin.